So, welcome to the very first Valve Auto podcast, hopefully one of many. To join me today is Alex Wimpy of Wimpy Brothers. So, well, thank you very much for joining, Alex. Do you want to
Thank you
give a
very
brief
much.
intro as to who you are and what you do?
Currently, nothing. In an answer, obviously, people who've either seen me on Wimpy Brothers knew that I should already know. I live in France. I moved out here about 9 years ago now, and yeah, I'd started up my own business buying and selling cars, and then COVID hit. So I thought, actually, maybe I've been doing obviously a bit of working on cars, and I thought, why not start a YouTube channel? Hence, Wimpy Brothers was born, and that sort of continued for as long as sort of COVID lasted. And since then, we've moved twice. So people have obviously seen where I was before. We've actually moved house twice since then,
No more
and
Wimpy Caban.
no more Wimpy Caban. No, and funny enough, I actually moved to I bought a house, and it still has a big, massive garage with all my stuff in. So obviously, I always dreamed of having a garage, and finally, when I got it. I've done nothing with it apart from store loads of material to renovate houses, and yeah, for people that did follow my channel, there's one car left, and it is in my garage, and that is the Mark II Golf GTI, still
Really?
unfinished.
So, out of all the
Yeah,
cars,
yeah.
it's the Mark II Golf. I was going to get onto
Everything,
the
yeah,
cars in a minute.
everything else went. But yeah, happy to talk about the cars. But
Yeah, happy days.
yeah,
So, back to the beginning then. Obviously, COVID hit, the world changed overnight. And certainly
yeah,
in France, I think you were probably a little bit more strictly locked down than what we were at certain stages. Certainly, Macron kind of took it a little bit more serious than what our government did for longer.
yeah.
So, tell me how kind of Wimpy Brothers come around, or Wimpy
It
Bros,
was
should I
it was
say?
really it was really quite simple. This I used to watch like things like Netflix and series and films. You know that's what I used to watch until my daughter arrived, and I realized I have no time to actually sit and watch an hour and a half of content. And previously to that, I only used YouTube actually to listen to music and watch music videos. So I actually there's a whole obviously YouTube was so much bigger than I ever thought. And anyway, due to the magic of what is the algorithm, I'm sat down thinking, right, I've not got time to actually watch anything like series. I'm going to put YouTube on, and lo and behold, the algorithm obviously had figured me out already, and it recommended Goon Squad building a Mustang. I'm sure
Yeah,
anyone who's probably a lot of YouTubers, a lot of certainly in they were sort of probably one of the first big channels to obviously explode. And I watched the Mustang GT build, and I was loving it. I was like, excellent. It's just 20 minutes sit down content, and I was like, I've got time for that. So I stopped watching other things and started watching Goon Squad fix cars. And yeah, COVID came, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go and buy myself a Mustang GT, and I'm gonna fix it, and I'll have a go at this. And that's where I ended up buying the Wimpy Stang in the States and shipping it over. That
so
was a
that's a hell
mm.
of a car to start on, isn't it?
Yeah. I just thought, obviously, I was in the car trade, but I'd been buying and selling cars, and I just thought, if you're gonna, it's I just thought if this sort of works for Goon Squad, uh, I'll just start off with that. And
Yeah.
I think yeah, I don't know. I just at the time I thought, right, well, where can I buy a smashed up Mustang? I couldn't find it in France, so I ended up buying it in. Where did I buy that car? I think it might have been in Texas or something like that. Yeah, I think it was in Texas, and yeah, figured out how someone to ship it and went to pick it up on the back of a truck. By the time we got it on there, because yeah, they hated me because they shipped a lot of cars, American cars, into France, but never one that was smashed and couldn't actually drive. So I sort of anticipated this because French people normally, when it comes to doing above and beyond what their job title would say, like they're not very accommodating. So I came with a case of beer and went, look, guys, I need to get this thing on the back of that truck. they looked at me like I'm a piece of shit. And then I went, here's some beer. And they went, fantastic. And then they helped me
Come on in.
forklift it up onto the back of the truck. I got it home. And then obviously I thought, right, what else do I need? Bought a camera and thought, right, let's try and repair a Mustang in my back garden with my, like I say, the Wimpy Caban, yeah.
That's excellent. So, obviously, starting with the Mustang, what kind of traction did you get early days? Did the subscriber count naturally, did it go quite progressively quite quickly, or
None.
Yeah.
No, it's I think this is anyone. I had no idea about YouTube when I did it, and probably had I known more about YouTube, would I have even started it? I don't know. But I think there's a side to YouTube that my brother said this to me, and I think it's really very relevant. Is that doesn't really matter kind of what you make or what you're kind of going to do. No one cares, and it's like, right, but so you can put a lot of effort in, but when it's your first like starting off, no one's going to care. The algorithm's not going to go, oh, blimey, look, another Mustang GT build. Let's blow this up like 10,000 million, whatever views. Like, that ain't going to happen. Just go steady away and see how it evolves. So I was like, right, let's just make something. I generally went with the idea, I'm going to make this video to amuse my brother. And if anyone else gets amused by this, that's okay. So, and by the way, my brother, like when we first found out that, this is years before I did the channel, I said to my brother, oh, if ever we should make some videos of us fixing cars. And it wasn't for YouTube. And he went, yeah, we should call it like Wimpy Brothers. And I went, yeah, great. And then years later, when it came to thinking up a name for my channel, I just went Wimpy Brothers. I just call it that because I'm making this content to amuse my brother at home in the UK. And yeah, that's kind of where it was. But people sort of wonder, why do you call your channel Wimpy Brothers? And
that's like, always amused me, because I think I've only seen one clip of your brother, and that was when he drove his car from the UK. And then you re-recorded the scene for your mum saying, yeah, it's perfectly safe to drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was my brother did appear. That's exactly right. I think my stepbrother did appear. My French stepbrother did appear briefly with his car. But yeah, my two brothers effectively have appeared in the channel, yeah. But yeah, the Wimpy Brothers idea, that came from my older brother, yeah.
Excellent. So what followed the Mustang in order then? What was your next build?
After that, because I bought the Mustang and I realised I needed something, you know, because the time it took to ship the cars was pretty painstaking, to be fair. So I thought I need to line something up to either run alongside the Mustang, and at that time I was really quite shocked at some of how cheap I could buy a Golf GTI, and I always wanted a Golf GTI. I think I mentioned it sort of in the series, but yeah, my mates at uni and growing up, you know, the rich ones had Golf GTIs, you know, the ones with rich parents. And I was like, God damn it. There's me like driving around. I had the Ford Capri at uni. That's probably the coolest.
That's respectable though, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, come on, that is more than respectable.
Another story in itself. Like that isn't the most proud rebuild I ever did. Probably the first, actually. But yeah, my mate's driving around in brand new Golf GTIs parents bought from him, and I thought, one day I want the latest Golf GTI. I couldn't afford. I mean, Golf GTIs now are mega bucks. I can't believe how much they are. But yeah, so at the time when I was, I think, looking for the Mustang, I was like shocked. I could buy the latest Golf GTI for the state that I bought mine in was next to nothing. So I just thought, right, I'll buy that, and that's it. That's the one that followed short after.
And surprisingly, actually, looking at your statistics on your channel, the Golf GTI Mark 7.5, the complete build video you did on that actually blew up pretty well. Yeah.
I think the 15-minute sort of highlight, I think that's closing in on 700,000 views. I think it might be more, to be honest. It's my brother that sort of keeps me in touch with it, because since sort of stopping Wimpy Brothers, I haven't looked at, you know, occasionally go on and see if I've got comments and respond or like occasionally. But as regards to the stats, because it becomes quite all encompassing, and you'll probably know this, and it kind of it
consumes
cannot be
you.
good for your head. Yeah. So I was like, when I finished, I was like, I'm just gonna like leave that because it was bogging my brain in a bit. But yeah, it did that build. To be honest, the Mustang stuff was good, but when I did the GTI build, it's amazing when you dial into a community of obviously, car lovers, and it's amazing to see the reaction from a GTI community and how helpful they are and how engaged they get. And
Oh yeah, absolutely.
the complete reverse, which is complete an error on my part, was like when I bought my Mercedes, and I thought, obviously, people that buy Mercedes don't normally fix and tinker with a Mercedes. Like,
apart from me, but yeah.
Apart from you. But yeah, normally, obviously, in a global community, like GTI people are like, they love that stuff. So it's like they just dial in.
Yeah.
So to be honest, I didn't buy the right Mercedes, to be fair, but
it was a CLS, was it a CLS 55 or something silly?
It was
like
a CLS 550.
That was it, yeah.
But, yeah, which doesn't. It's only they only have them in America. But yeah, it was a twin turbo V8, and yeah, it was an absolute beast. But I didn't like it at all. I finished that build. I didn't film it, but I did finish that build, and I did drive that Mercedes around for a bit, and there was nothing that I liked about it. No, tell a lie. I liked the fact that it was kind of a sheet. It was kind of had two personalities. You could cruise around like a sort of luxury mode, but yeah, you press that sport button, it sort of sank down, dialed up the turbos, and that thing used to go like a rocket. But I definitely wasn't suited to me at all. But yeah, live and learn.
So moving on from that, obviously we had probably one of my favourite cars on the channel, which was the world's cheapest Fiat.
Hey, I'm glad you said that. Thank you very much. Because my brother again would say that's the best content. Now this is where another thing, as a bit of a side YouTube, bit of back talk, or I wouldn't say advice because I can't give any advice on YouTube, because if you hear me out, I know nothing about it.
Well, I've got some statistics which I'll read out in a minute that says different.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I thought I rang my brother and I was like, I know, but I'm building cars and stuff like that. I said, obviously being a car lover, I watch the Grand Tour, I watch Top Gear, and I love their sort of take on how they'll do something obviously car related. That's kind of quite amusing. And I said to Ad, like, because I was in the car auctions anyway, like in Europe, so I was buying cars in and around Europe and selling them, and I was like, I wonder what the cheapest possible car is I could buy. And I was like, well, I'm just going to keep this in mind. And every time I sort of go on to search for cars, I'm just going to filter it by which one is the cheapest. And it was Lucia. And I was like, bloody hell. And the idea obviously was to buy it and then drive it 1,000, across Europe, or certainly a good distance. So I was like, I need to find something obviously that I actually think might be able to do the journey. And I sort of just went with gut feeling that Lucia popped up. And I thought, obviously, if anyone bids on this, then it's game over. So I sort of watched it and watched it and watched it. And at the sort of fall of the hammer, I put my €1 bid on and it went through. Then it actually got accepted. And I thought, bloody hell, I actually have bought a car for €1 and it possibly could make the journey. But again, I'd only seen pictures of it. And yeah, that was in Italy. And I thought, yeah, this is brilliant. This is gold YouTube stuff. Like, who else buys a car for €1 and tries to drive 1,000 kilometers through the Alps? And I thought, yeah, this is Grand Tour stuff, this. And my brother was loving it. He was like, yeah, it's a great idea. And again, I put it out, and it's the worst, I think it's probably the worst videos I made in terms of like viewings. And I thought, I've generally risked my life to make this stuff. And I was like, and I'm not getting anything back, And the other thing I did with it, again, was I went past where I bought it was luckily quite situated near the Lamborghini factory, where they have the most amazing Lamborghini collection, like the best Lamborghini collection the world has ever seen. So I'm like, this is brilliant. I'm taking my €1 car to see the most expensive cars And I was like, again, this is YouTube gold, surely. Like, and it wasn't at all. I was so like, I released my video showing, I think like maybe like 30 like amazingly rare Lamborghinis. And what was her name? Supercar Blondie did a little video on just one of those cars that gets 10 million views. Yeah, I've made a video on 30 of them, and I think again it's probably my least watched video. And I'm like, how does what? I can't figure this YouTube thing out. You know, obviously something is missing. So I was like, then I'm like, I have videos on my hard drive that I've made fixing Land Rovers, and I was like, no one's going to give a shit about fixing a Land Rover. And I'm like, hey, do you know what? I need to free up space on my hard drive, and I literally did the worst edit, like fast edit one evening on a Land Rover video, put it on my channel. And again, today, I think it's my most watched video.
75,000 views.
Yeah. And I'm like,
yeah.
And at that point, I was like, I clearly know nothing about YouTube. I think buying the cheapest car in Europe and driving it to see the most expensive collection of cars is interesting. And I don't think perhaps fixing an electronic handbrake on a Land Rover, I think that's boring as hell.
Well, you would think so.
YouTube would completely tell me otherwise. So I was like, I don't know. Any advice that I am trying to give on YouTube is just bear in mind I actually know nothing. Because if I did, I would have made more popular videos. Yeah.
I think the lesson to learn is just do the opposite to what you think. Because that Lamborghini factory tour, which I thought was great, I actually watched that last night. On my feed, funnily enough. 502 views 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
First
Supercar Blondie, video. 10 million after 2 minutes. Fucking, maybe I need to dye my hair blonde.
Yeah. A video about fixing an EPB module on a Land Rover Discovery 3 for only £20 got you 75,000 views.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You couldn't write it, could you?
No, you couldn't. No. So if anybody is interested to see the best Lamborghini collection in the world, the Lamborghini factory, one of ones, plenty one-of-one Lamborghinis. There's a video on my channel that no one knows about. Clearly,
I'm feeling the need now to find something cheaper than a Fiat to drive to the Lamborghini factory.
Well, to be honest, it had to be. The thing was, people would say, "Oh, you could buy a car for 50p or whatever, less than €1." But the lowest increment that I could bid that was acceptable was in euros. So I couldn't bid any less, but I probably could have got it for less because I think they were ready to obviously give it away. But I had to, there was that people might think, I'm not sure if he actually did pay that €1 for that car. I absolutely did. I won it in an auction for €1 and it got me home. And the worst part of it is when I moved from my house, I sold it to my neighbor who has been featured in my channel, LV. Yeah, for €5. So I made obviously a 500% margin return on that car or whatever, you know, times the money by 5. And I still to this day, I daren't ask him what he did with it because out of all the cars, I sold all my cars, and the one that I actually regret most selling, and my brother told me, he went, "You're going to regret selling that car," is Lucia, that €1 car, because I have space to store it now. I have a big garage, so it's like I got space to store it. And
that thing got absolutely battered. It got logs put in it, all sorts.
Yeah. I took it off road a bit. I loved that car; was brilliant. But when I took it to actually get its kind of MOT, the guys looked at me like, "What did you buy this piece of shit for?" Because imagine I've been there. I've been using that MOT spot for that place for all my cars. So when I arrived with that Fiat, they looked at me like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, well, and then I tried to explain it to them. And obviously the look they give me is just like, you're insane. And then after they looked at the car and gave me that list, they were like, seriously, mate, like, you're insane. Like, you should not, they said, we should be literally taking this car in and not letting you drive it home, and you've driven this 1,000 kilometers. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, and it's in way better shape now because I've actually done a bit of work on it. I've got rid of the leaks. It has coolant and oil in it, which when I picked it up, it didn't. And it was like, they were just like, fucking, we thought this guy was a bit crazy before. Now we know he's full on mental. Yeah. So I do regret, out of all the cars, if I'm brutally honest, it is selling that one, yeah,
Yeah,
to my neighbour
definitely.
for a fiver. And it was just because we were moving the cars over from my old house, and I actually took them all with me initially. And then it just came to that one car, and I didn't have someone else to drive it. And I thought, actually, legally, we couldn't drive it because it didn't have any MOT. So literally on that day that I was moving, I went to my neighbour, Alvin, went, Alvin, do you want to buy my Fiat? And he went, yeah. I went, fiver? And he went, yeah. And he bought it. That was it. That was
Quickest car sale ever.
Yeah, I actually did video the exchange, like him doing that, because I thought one day when I make a video as to what happened to these cars. So I did have a video of me, Alvin giving me the fiver and me giving him the keys.
You know what? I
So
think
yeah,
you should absolutely put that out as a short.
yeah. What happened
Give
to
a bit of
Lucia?
closure. Yeah, what happened to Lucia? Because I think you'll be shocked at just how well it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, to be honest, what happened to all the cars? I mean, the GTI, most of them went to Germany, apart from the Wimpy Stang, which I think ended up getting used as a track day car.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, the others all went to Germany. I drove them over to Germany, and they went into like a professional auction, and then they got dispersed as to wherever they went. But
Were there any that you made a massive loss on that you regret selling? Or
no, the best car money wise was the GTI. Worst case
that's
was
7.5, yeah.
yeah. Another really good car, which I completely missed. I should have done more research on this one. Was the Porsche Cayenne that I bought? Was the cheap? What was it? I forget the title of my video. Like the cheapest. Oh,
10K.
the best
you paid
way
for
to
that, didn't
spend
you?
10 grand on a car
Yeah.
or something like that. And I was like thinking, when I looked at like what car would recommend, and they recommended something like, I don't know, some like Subaru diesel or something. I forget what it was. Like for 10 grand, this is the best thing you could buy. And I thought, what's the fucking dumbest thing you can buy for 10 grand, or the most powerful thing you can buy for 10 grand? And that's when I say, because I had access to all the professional auctions in Germany as well. So I was like, this again, the Cayenne popped up, and no one wanted to buy it. And I was like,
I wonder why.
yeah. So I was like, it started coming down in price, and I was like, if this hits my 10 grand budget, I'm buying it. So I just waited, and it was weeks going through this auction. I'd see it come through, pass, and I was like, price was coming down. It came down to 10. I put my bid in and won it, and I was like, I don't quite know what we're going to get for this, but it was an absolute weapon. But that car, because it was the turbo at the time when it was built, it was the most powerful Porsche had made.
Yeah.
And yeah, blimey, that thing was a beast. But yeah, I went to pick it up, and I didn't realize that even like when I went to sell it in France, there wasn't any others in France. The Turbo S, like people that had advertised it, were saying, "Oh, but at the end, in the bottom of like this car is actually in Russia, but we can import it over." And I was like, when I put the advert out with that Turbo S, the phone didn't stop, because it was like Cayenne lovers, which is, again, there's a lot of them around. Again, I didn't think it was that big a popular car, but the phone didn't stop for that car, and I realised I probably could have made a lot more money on that. But anyway,
I've just bought one about 3 weeks ago. Not shown it on the channel yet. But yeah, I can see your pain. I'd love to see your fuel bill driving that thing back.
To be honest, driving that back, because obviously I picked it up in Germany and it worked. It ran fine. The engine on that thing ran beautifully, but it was unbelievable on the autobahn. And obviously, I think on the channel there's a Mercedes AMG that tried to give me a run for the money. But I was thinking that thing could just, obviously, the petrol it consumed was ridiculous. I think that's the most uneconomical car that I've ever had, purely because of its weight, and yeah, the twin turbo Monster V8. But on the autobahn, that was the perfect bit of kit, because it would just go and go and go, and you just didn't feel like you were doing any speed whatsoever. But it was all legal, so it was great. So when I got into sort of that race with that AMG Mercedes, that was brilliant. Loved it. Again, I thought that would be really good YouTube content, but again, no, fixing hydraulic suspension on a Land Rover, way more interesting.
I think it's a strange one because if you'd have included like arrested by the German police and like had a nice
Yeah,
thumbnail of
probably.
him in
Yeah,
that'd have blown up. Let's be honest.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's a
True.
crazy world. But so at this point, early 2020 and beyond, the likes of Matt Armstrong, who has now kind of dominated YouTube,
Yeah, yeah,
he was
absolutely. Yeah,
relatively quite small. I
he
think it
was.
round
Yeah,
about
yeah. I
when you
think I
started out,
started.
he had about 10,000 subs.
Yeah, he definitely was sub 100, and
Yeah,
obviously all 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 being sort of aside, this was kind of where I would put my money, on Matt at that time. I realized his content was obviously particularly extremely good. He had the resources that you would need, and that was. I don't want to sort of make an excuse on my part, but there were so many restrictions in France that made that type of channel very difficult for me. But where Matt was, and where I just thought, wow, this guy, one, is super talented at making content, and I would honestly say all the people that obviously he's now top tier, and he's there because his content is so damn good. And out of all the kind of I really like Tavares as well,
yeah,
but the guy deserves it because his content is so fantastic, and he's obviously got the balls to just go out and attack anything. And when I started watching it, I thought, oh, this guy's clearly on it. And am I surprised he's now got almost like 2.2 million followers and every video blows up? Not really, because the guy is making the best content in that genre, and he's a very likable guy that brought something a bit unique in the way he did his videos. So
yeah. It's insane
yeah.
the way that he's blown up. You must sit there sometimes and think, what if? What if I'd have carried on?
To be honest, this was this for people that are wondering what happened to why one day doing a video a week or every couple of weeks every week and then nothing. It's actually that one I realized, wow, bloody hell, this is doing it in France was very difficult because if you import a crash damaged car from outside of France, there you can't get it legally checked and put on French roads. So that's why any of my accident repair cars had to be sold outside of Europe. So when I discovered that with a Mustang, I could have, if I was able to actually have it checked and registered on French roads, I probably honestly could have made close to 20,000 euros on one car alone.
Yeah.
Because when I thought, the price they are in France, but it's only France that has that regulation. If it's not crashed in France, we don't want to go near it. And it was like, well, okay. So let's have a look at buying a French car that has been crashed in France. Oh, but to do that, to repair a car and have it done, you need to be licensed by by certain specialists, and you need to have these qualifications. I was like, I haven't got any of those. I'm just a dude that wants to fix it on my driveway and then have it checked and then get put on the road, like Matt can do, like you can do, like everyone else apart from me in France can do. So I was like, it's hard not to let that get you down. It's like, I've got the cards aren't really stacked in my favor doing this content that I enjoy doing. And when I do repair a car, I've got to face a significant, not loss, but I can't get anywhere near the money I can if I can't obviously have it certified, registered. So that's where all my cars went to Germany, to someone that was going to just do that in Germany. So it's like, that's where it's kind of like, that was hard. That's hard to sort of take on board. And it's like, if I try and scale my channel up, these problems are only going to become greater. The problems are only going to become more. And the other thing was, people who spotted on my channel, obviously my little daughter Juliet, who, in the initial years, it's all about mummy. Daddy doesn't really exist too much. And then suddenly dad's become quite interesting. And I was like, another thing that sort of, I hope your viewers, perhaps don't appreciate, but really should, and I know you do, is if you do a job on a car, it can take quite a bit of time, especially when you're not an actual mechanic, like Matt Armstrong, like me. you have to figure it out. So you got to do the sort of find the parts, figure out how to fix it. That takes time. Then obviously do the fixing. Filming takes that task, times it by 2. Then you've got to do the edit. To say it's time consuming is a complete joke. I mean, look at Matt Armstrong. He does 1 video per week, a fantastic video. But think he works full time to make that video. So you've got to think he's got to figure out how to fix the problem he's got, which obviously they don't come, these new modern cars don't come, and they don't, you know, like his GT3s do, they don't come with, this is how you fix it. It's not like in the past where you just go and buy a Haynes manual, and that's what it was like with my Capri, but you buy a Haynes manual, it tells you A to Z, this is how you fix it. So you have to figure it all out, and all that is so time consuming. So when suddenly my daughter came, I was like, I had this huge conflict. Like, if I scale this up, it's only going to become more time consuming. And my primary, most important job is spending time with my daughter. So I was like conflicted, really was. Like, she would have a day maybe sick off school, and I'd in my head be like, oh, God damn it, I can't film today, or I can't make a video. And I'm like, rather than, oh, get to spend time and take care of her. And I was like, this isn't right. I was like, and this, if I scale, if I do continue, this is only going to cause more pain for me. I mean, and sort of as a caveat to, you know, I grew up without a dad, so being present in my daughter's life is a very important thing for me. So was that probably that was the icing on the cake as to why I thought I can't continue this content, and because time wise I just don't have it. And the other thing was my where COVID had caused sort of the car trade to take a massive dive. Even if I was going to be importing cars from the States, I'd receive the emails from the shipping companies to say it's all ground to a halt now, and the car prices and everything is all just completely thrown out of whack. So when I was looking at continuing to buy and trade cars, I was like, this is a terrible situation. So where's my sort of business and career was going like that? My Dietz was taking off, and I was like, you know, let's just go with, for the family, let's just go with, you know, I don't care, we'll close it, I'll sell all the cars. And that's where I sold everything off, and we moved house. Well, we moved to where it's called Bourbon-les-Bains. It's quite a small place, and I said, I'm not sure whether I can find employment there, but I need something to do. So we said, right, well, I'll buy an old sort of house and I'll renovate it. So it's not that I've not been doing anything. In fact, I probably should have continued my channel. But again, I realized I've got time constraints here, and I know it's just going to double my time if I try to actually follow this process. But since stopping Wimpy Brothers, selling all the cars, I bought a house, and I've just spent a whole year renovating it. And that's all what I'm doing. Yeah.
Happy days. So no immediate plans to rekindle Wimpy Brothers at the moment?
To be honest, the Mark II is as where I left it off. Actually, no, it's not where I left it off, because I actually renovated the gearbox. What else did I do? I did replaced all the radiators for the heating system in the car, because that had just been blanked off. I'd done quite a considerable work on it, but again, it was in my head. I was like, if I film this, it's just going to be so long, and I didn't have that time. So the Mark II did progress, and it drives great now with the renovated gearbox. But yeah, it is just sat in the garage, doing nothing. So hopefully gaining in value, but it is,
Yeah, well, definitely appreciating value, but yeah, I mean, what a journey in such a short space of time. In 75 videos you uploaded in total, with you're at 11,400 subscribers, soon to click on to 11,500, and I think you were at 10,000 when you stopped filming videos.
That's right. Yeah, I got to 10,000. Went no, I'll stop there. Yeah,
I remember your 1,000 subscriber video.
Yeah, I actually I didn't realize. I think I did a 100 subscriber video. But yeah, it's amazing how. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of
Yeah, hell of a journey. 75 uploads, 11,400 subscribers, soon to click over to 11,500 subscribers. As I say, you've gained 1,500 subscribers since you haven't even put any content out there. You've still gained 1,500 subscribers. You've
Yeah.
had 1.16 million views on your
Okay.
videos, which is mind-boggling. I mean, I've done over 100 videos in a year, and I've got 160,000 views on my videos.
Right. Well, you need the trick is, mate, you need to make content on Land Rovers. You know,
You know
don't
what?
bother with buying Lamborghinis. Nothing. Land Rovers is the future. No, to be honest, this is where this is the side of YouTube where it really is sort of toss a coin into a well and sort of think, I don't know, is that video going to do great or not? I mean, obviously, if you buy, there is a lot of, you know, the cars you choose, 100%, and this is where Matt Armstrong, you know, nailed it. He absolutely nailed it in the way that he probably just bought cars that he liked, but YouTube loved them too, and he continues to obviously do that really well. But yeah, it's very difficult to say, well, how do you kind of start? Obviously, your TT, yeah, he started with his TT. But yeah, it's really hard. That is quite a difficult thing. Finding the right car at the right place and having the right problems. You know, it is a tricky journey
Yeah,
to
the
sort of
TT was an
navigate.
interesting one for me because it was the right car, probably at the right time, but it was the wrong car at the same time as well. I mean, the first car I started off with was obviously the crash damaged Mini Cooper,
Yeah,
which my wife still drives now, which had got frame damaged, and we used a Land Rover Discovery with a winch to pull it straight, attached
yeah,
to a skip.
I love that video because, to be honest, I had the same thoughts, and I was thinking maybe if I tied it to a telephone post or something like that, or a street lamp, because I was thinking that's pretty sturdy. I was thinking, but then what happens if I pull down the telephone pole or something like that? But I had similar things because I was thinking, if I have frame damage, am I going to be able to find someone in France that's going to be willing to fix it for me? And to be honest, the answer would probably be no. So I was like, exactly the same as you. I was thinking, if I tie this to something and pull it, and LV was on it with me as well. He was like, "Oh well, if we because he had all the material and we were working it out." And in the end, I didn't try. I thought, no, stay away from frame damage. But when I saw your video, I thought that is bloody brilliant. I love that.
I tried it with a tree. I did. I
Yeah,
ratcheted it to a tree, and I kept driving it backwards, and it was getting harder and harder. I was getting whiplash by this point after about 4 attempts at trying to pull this frame straight, and it hadn't even budged. And I
yeah,
thought, I'm going to do something a bit different. And then obviously my mate's got a Land Rover Discovery, and he's like, look, I've got a winch. Let's winch it up. And his idea was, well, the frame rail needs to come up. We'll winch it off the ground to start off with. And I'm like, well, the weight of the car's probably not going to be enough. You know what I mean? And I
yeah,
see the
yeah,
skip
yeah,
on the drive, and I thought, I wonder.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, with the force of obviously pulling it in and then a sledgehammer, it was enough to get the frame rail back straight. And
yeah,
all the front end went on lovely, and she still drives it today. It's an absolutely brilliant car to drive. So that was number one. And then obviously I bought the cheapest Fiesta I could find off Copart, which was like the pure sale items, which are nobody
yeah.
wants to buy them. They are an absolute
Okay.
skip, don't bother. And it turns out it was probably a better submarine than a car. It got that many leaks. It was unreal. And even today now, it's still new leaks are popping up left, right, and centre. Terrible, terrible, terrible decisions. But the TT was great because it was kind of a full rebuild-ish. And I had great aspirations for taking the engine out, forging it all, going big brake horsepower. But the problem was, and the reason I kind of stopped filming it's because I've become a how-to channel overnight. And
Yeah,
everybody follows my videos on how to work on an Audi TT. Like if I look at all the channelytics coming in, it's like how to, and it was never the intent to create a how to YouTube. I always wanted people to follow the journey and the build of the cars,
yeah.
and I've inherently fell down this rabbit hole, which I now need to try and get out of. So I'm just negotiating the sale on the TT to a subscriber, and that will live
Right.
on. That'll live on with him. I've never had it mapped because I thought mapping's a bit of a personal thing. It's
Yeah,
all,
true.
it's all
Yeah.
ready to go for stage two. So I'm like, okay, guys, anybody wants it, come get it. You can carry on the story. You can have that personal experience of having it mapped.
Mm.
Yeah. So that, and I've just obviously bought the Porsche, which will feature. That's going to be the daily, but it'll feature some of the content on the channel. But I really wanted a Land Rover Discovery 3 or a Discovery 4. or ideally a Range Rover. And I've worked for Jaguar Land Rover for years
Right.
in the past, and I know it's a head versus heart thing. My head knows I should never touch them with a barge pole,
Right.
but my heart's like, I really like them. I'd love a Range Rover, but we've got issues obviously in the UK. I'm guessing you're probably the same in France, whether that's stolen. The market price on
Yeah.
them is plummeting at a rate of knots. So there was a brand new Vogue that was worth £140,000. Went through auction the other day. Went struggled to get 70. That's how bad.
I saw this that I read in the paper. It was a Daily Mail, so I took it with a pinch of salt. But yeah, to insure a Range Rover Sport, he couldn't actually get a quote on it, and I
Yeah,
think it was like north of like 20 grand for insurance. And I thought that's absolutely insane.
yeah.
I was like, is it really? Is that just one of those
I insure
articles?
all my cars. So I've got 5 cars in the fleet at the moment, and I insure them all for about £1,300 all in.
Yeah.
It
Is that with professional insurance?
Yeah. So just to insure the Porsche, because it's the SUV class and it's been affected by the Range Rover issues of being stolen. It was £1,300 just to install the Porsche, just to insure the Porsche, which is absolutely
Wow.
crazy. They wouldn't even quote me on a Range Rover. That's how bad it's got with them. So that whole Land Rover Range Rover thing's on hold at the minute. Because I was going to do like an off-road kind of build on one, like, and then I thought about, oh, maybe I'll get a Ford Ranger. Let's get a Ford Ranger and let's do a Raptor conversion on it, make it a proper off-road machine with winch, this, that, and the rest of it.
Yeah.
But again, they are holding their prices so well. You can't buy a Ford Ranger now for anything less than 15 grand. And then
What?
to take that and then tear the body off it,
Yeah.
it's kind of, you can't
Perhaps wasn't the
justify
best
it.
decision. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. So yeah, I'm toying with the idea. This is why we started the podcast, and this is why we're doing things like the live shows, like the Autosport International show and stuff, to try and just shake things up a bit and get out of that how-to space more than
Yeah.
anything. And I know I've spoken to people that have had the same issue, and they've walked away from their channel with like 10,000 subs and started again just to get out of that one rabbit hole.
Yeah. It's a tricky one to sort of navigate in YouTube as to why people would, like I say, the 2 popular videos or 3 popular ones that I did on Landra were how-to videos, and it's exactly like you say, how you can't YouTube. I mean, the amount of times I've used YouTube to figure out how to do something, it's like, oh, I feed the algorithm as much as, I don't want it to not work in that way for my channel, but at the same time, it's like it is hugely helpful, helping people obviously how to do things. But yeah, how would you navigate out of that? I guess, like you say, you can only try and diverse and do other styles of content. And I think that, in terms of YouTube as a whole, is kind of, well, I think when you first start YouTube, it's my brother explained it this in a great way. He seems quite a wise man, my brother. I seem to reference him a lot. But
I need to hire him as a consultant. That's what I need to do.
He pardon. He said, if you learn to play guitar, what do you do? And I was like, well, you start learning to play other people's songs. And he's like, yeah. So what did you do? Do that with YouTube? And I was like, what? Make videos like Goon Squad? Yeah, all right then. And then he's like, but you'll figure out later on once you've learned, I guess the technical aspect of it. Once you learn how to actually put your chords in and figure out musically, you can obviously start creating your own music. And that's the hardest part of any instrument, is to actually create something that is completely individual, something new, but obviously that people are going to really enjoy. And I think that's really relevant with YouTube, is to say there's already someone probably making that content, but how do you make it something different and original? I think that is so hard to do. And yeah, I think starting YouTube, try making content that is similar to someone else's until you figure out your own direction. But again, with people's channels, as they evolved, it's amazing to see how they can completely change direction. But again, you're just applying the skills you've learned by making videos that are like other people's and content that is similar to other people's, to then say, right, no, I've kind of figured out my way now, and that's the way I'm going to go. So
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, channels that kind of watched prior to doing YouTube, like B is for Build, one of them.
Yeah, I
Chris,
love that as well.
you know,
Yeah,
absolutely
really.
used to love B is for Build. It was one of them that you craved when the notification popped up on your phone. It's like, I've got to go watch that now.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
it kind of got a little bit muddied by B is for Boat.
yeah. Beers for boat. Yeah.
And then
Agreed.
obviously it was great when he was working in his own workshop, and then he brought Oscar on board and all the fab work started, and it got more and more progressive from there to a point where I think it kind of lost its identity a little bit when he moved into a massive workshop. And
Yeah,
I think the channel,
true.
because obviously he was doing that Mustang build, which got
Yeah,
stopped,
yeah.
unfortunately, due to
That was
legal issues.
really that was terrible. That was. But anyway.
Yeah, and I think that was a different one. Obviously, Tavares is Tavares. He's always been a bit out there with his
Yeah.
supercars. You can't compete with that kind of thing, and he's getting
No.
there. Like the whole Matt Armstrong thing. I'm literally a couple of miles from Matt Armstrong. I see his cars every day, and
Oh,
it's
you
like
do?
how do you compete? I mean, I use Mallory Performance, right? So I'm up there quite
Right.
frequently.
Okay.
Um, I've seen his next couple of builds, which I'm obviously not going to comment on, but the one I can comment on is the one at Liberty Free Autosports, which is the M3 competition. I don't know whether you've seen that thing, but that has had a massive side impact.
Okay.
Frame damage all the way through. I think this is going to be a new style of video for him because it's going to have to be body shopped. It's going to have to be jigged,
Yeah.
which I've not seen him
Okay.
do with any of his stuff yet.
No. Well, he's not scared to. He's very. You get that sort of. You know, with Matt, he's constantly challenging himself, and again, why his content is continued to grow is because people enjoy watching him taking on challenge. And I have to sort of say, I mean, knowing that he's figuring that out by himself and taking those things on, and obviously at great expense and great risk. Obviously it's his character is maybe it's built into his character. There's not many people like previously he used to do obviously crazy stunts on a BMX. So obviously taking risks
Yeah,
is probably part of his DNA, but 100%, I mean, there's nothing that I'm sure he can't figure out. And, I think that's important to notice that he hasn't got it figured out. He's just figuring it out
and
and he's
having a lot
working
of
it
fun in
out.
the process.
And obviously having a lot of fun in the process and probably making a huge substantial amount of money at the moment, which I'm sure is a very nice bonus. But yeah, I think I enjoy. That's probably I follow his channel because I do see that evolution in is challenging his own abilities and constantly taking himself out of his comfort zone, and he takes us along with him. So and he does that really well. So I mean, I used to before his channel blew up. I was messaging him on Instagram, and I'd get a response, and that was pretty cool. But obviously, if I was to message him now, I would fall into the abyss of probably millions of messages he gets. But I stand by he's the most in the genre in terms of his character, his personality, what he has available to him, which you guys, I'm so jealous when I see Copart UK. And I always have been. I thought if I was in the UK, I would be down there every day, loving that. But he's got it, and Mallory Performance up the road. I mean, it's just like perfect, stars aligned, for that channel, and hence why it sort of took off to the
It
moon.
does. It is. It is. It's a temptation because you could go at it. You could throw yourself in at the deep end. And like for me, things have changed in the last 12 months where I've changed jobs. My last job, I'll be honest, I had loads of time on my hands. I had the
Yeah,
time in which to do this. This new job's very involved. It's starting up a UK business. It is very involved, and it's consuming all my time. I've had simple jobs to do on the TT to get that finished off that I've delayed 2-3 weeks. I just don't
right.
get the time to spend on it. Hence why I'm trying to vary the content on the channel. I'm looking to bring in a couple more creators as well to input into the channel, so it's not just me that's the bottleneck.
Yeah,
But yeah, we do over in the UK. We do have it a lot easier than what obviously you guys do in France. But it's people don't realise the time that you invest into it. I mean, I've quit YouTube 3 times this year.
right.
I
Okay.
have twice hidden the channel, once delete requested the whole content to go, and then
Wow.
bottled it a week later. And please, YouTube, don't delete my channel. It does. You neglect so much of your personal life just to deliver the content. It does become a bit of an addiction.
it
You know,
it comes all consuming, and to be honest, I don't want to. Obviously, there's a bit of a bit of a rabbit hole to go into, but we knew life before the social media, YouTube, and everything that obviously that now appears on the screen in our pockets. But there is that, it drags you in, and when you become a content creator, you are way more invested in it. Emotionally invested in making the videos, and it can be very bad in terms of mental health, can be very challenging. And this is where I would say, again, don't listen to me about my advice on YouTube, anybody, because I don't know anything. But I would say if you go into making a channel or content, is yes, do think about the time restrictions, but to make something that you would enjoy making, whether anyone liked it or they didn't like it. A bit kind of like in where I was, I'm going to make this video so my brother at home can enjoy it. Make it on a real, don't try and think any more outside. I want to make this video because I see other massive channels and I would like to either be in this for, I think I can make money, because you're only going to suffer because, and probably your content will suffer. So if you kind of can just make something that is, I say, it's not going to rob you of your time from your family. It's not going to, just make something that is fun. If it does blow up, then you've then got that question to ask yourself. Okay, this is serious now, so I should invest this time in it. But I think a lot of people go, fuck, invest, damage my health and mental health, and it's so punishing. Why don't people engage and then go, now it makes me feel shit? Because you'll end up like I was. I was like, why make another video? Because no one cares. And I thought, even if the harder I try, even like I say, risking driving a wreck of a car, I'm going about this the wrong way. Yeah. And I think just go about it in a light-hearted, let's just make a video. Don't think too much about it. Try and, like I say, copy someone else if you need to for inspiration, and then go, right, did you enjoy that experience or not? Yes or no? It's a bit like when you go and try a new activity. You're either going to like it or you're not, but try not to sort of go, right, I'm going to build this thing and I'm going to create this, because it's hard. It's a cruel environment, YouTube. Unless you're perhaps no, and even like, let's take Matt Armstrong, who's probably pinnacle. Do you not think that he, obviously now he's got all those subscribers, he's probably got more pressure to say, what the hell do I buy next? What's that risk I need to take? And it is, luckily, obviously he doesn't have a, I say luckily he doesn't have a family, but he doesn't have a family. He can throw all his time at this. Yeah. And obviously, YouTube has responded to his channel in a way to say, no, you need to take this seriously. And the sponsors, obviously, that are lining up to obviously support him is like, wow, he does need to take it seriously. But he's obviously managing that really well. And he got, his channel was at the right time, right place, certainly, and blew up during COVID. But anyone thinking like, oh, yeah, YouTube, but just remember, it can be really tough, and it can be quite almost, I don't know how's the best way to describe it. Like you say, you want to delete your channel. Yeah,
it's a playground environment. That's how I liken it to. You have your bullies, you have the popular kids, yeah, and you have the kids that surround themselves with the popular kids, and people will probably draw a conclusion to what I'm talking about there. But then typically you've got the bullies in the playground as well. I mean, how many negative comments have you had in your time on YouTube?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not. This is a weird one, and I explain this to my brothers, and that I don't know how this bothered me so much. The negative comments actually weren't too bad, like, because I was expecting it. I was like, I know the world's full of fucking idiots, and they've got keyboards, so that didn't bother me. But I was making content, and someone commented, just make another Mark II video. And I was like, you fucking arsehole. Like, no. And I never made another Mark II video. Whoever made that comment, like, the reason I never made a Mark II video because of that dude. Like, I was like, I thought, no, I'm not. And that sounds odd, but I just thought, yeah, if you, I don't know what it was. I'm trying to sort of explain this as best I can. Is you want to make a channel where people are just like, yeah, you might work on this car, you might work on that car, you might do this, but it is some people don't care about you. They just want to see the car. They don't give a shit. And I just thought, no, I don't think I'd bother making a Mark II video, mate. No. And yeah, you just sort of think, I don't know why, out of all the comments, that comment pissed me off more than any, because I just thought, like, so obviously you're not interested in anything else, obviously, that I hopefully am providing for you on my channel. You know, why don't I just poke, you know, I'll just set the camera up and send that video to you that you can watch my Mark II as long as you like, mate. But I don't know why that sort of bothered me so much, but I say it was a comment that, considering all the negative ones that were way more personal than that, I don't know why that sort of bothered me so much.
Yeah, I was the same. So I had some personal comments, one of which was some woman who telling me how off-putting it was my heavy breathing. I'm like, yeah, well, you haven't just ripped the interior out of a car, have you, love? Yeah. And then tried to film a video straight after. Like, you know, that's why I'm breathing heavy. But the ones, it was like, I'll watch this video. Didn't tell me what I wanted to know. I wanted to know such and such. I'm like, mate, that video has got no relation to what you're trying to find out whatsoever. So why would that video tell you that? And they're the ones that do kind of get on your wick a bit. They're the ones, why? There's just no need to comment. What is your need? You just comment for the sake of commenting. You know, why? Why are you commenting? You know, and it is difficult. And that's the bit that you've got to factor into, is that I found it, I was worried. Starting YouTube, I was worried. I was a little bit self-conscious as well. You know, being on camera. I
think a lot of people
we've not all got pretty boy looks, Alex. You know,
me neither. We're not all like tattooed skateboard like. Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, you know, I was a little bit conscious, and I think the most worrying part of it for me was after the family found out. Right, the wider family started following, and for me, it was like we went around my sister-in-law's, and she was like, "We're watching your videos." And I'm like, oh no! I was like, what's coming now? Like, please just ground open up and swallow me. And my nephew was like my biggest fan, and he used to follow. He used to follow every video I used to do, and he was like, Dave, when's the next video out? Or what's happening with this car? And I was like, that's just one little 8-year-old kid, but that's like driving me on just to carry on. You know, for all the negative, you know, for any negatives. It
I think
matter.
That's important to mention this, because obviously we touched on initially like the negative side of the YouTube comment section, and again the weight of sort of trying to sort of play the algorithm, or trying to figure out how can I appeal to more people. That is quite, I say that isn't good. But I mean, the comments, the support on the other side, you know. It is. I can't explain how important it is. Please, to your viewers, just make the time to hit the like button, and make the time, if you're watching a few videos and you're enjoying, just do hit that subscribe, because it's such small, but it's so integral in such a boost of someone, you know, a content creator's morale, just to go, thanks for that. It means a lot, and I can't explain. I probably didn't mention this enough when I was making videos, how, you know, because I was a bit more, subscribe, come on, you know, but it is so important. Not just for, obviously, for the channel in general, but for the creator, just to say it's such a small gesture, but to show your appreciation by clicking subscribe. So I'm saying that for your channel, is saying anyone watching this, like, just please hit the subscribe, because it means the world of difference.
It does, and you feel a bit guilty about asking for subscribers as well, but there's no shame in it. But it's changed my outlook on the way I follow people as well now. Is that the first thing I do is make sure I subscribe to the channel. The next thing I make sure they do, the second I start watching their video, I like it.
Yeah.
Because it makes you conscious of how important it is.
It is. And again, a comment, and I hope anyone who might have been watching my channel is wondering what I'm doing. Even the comments that I've received to say, "Oh, please make another video," or I've received emails. They've meant so much, and they've meant loads, and it has been because after not filming YouTube, it's not been easy for me.
No.
It has been, leaving my, stopping my business, leaving cars effectively alone for many years now. Or I say many years, couple of years. It hasn't been easy. So I do get the comments. I read them. I like them if I see them. But, it means a lot. So people that are using the power of obviously making a comment or that have contact with a content creator on a positive front, please don't underestimate how heartfelt that actually is received and how appreciated it is. And yeah, please, for the channels that you are following, that other channels, do consider always how much of a support it is. Yeah. So yeah,
that's brilliant. So yeah, I think this has been brilliant. I think it's been a great insight to somebody that obviously started YouTube with the COVID boom.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think I'm I'm still pushing. It's so hard. And you go back on the Channelytics and look at some of the channels that didn't put the effort in. Like they were just started off as a pet project for somebody, and they just shot up in subscribers and likes and views. And now the landscape's changed. It's just so hard to get. Like so hard just to get 5 subscribers.
Yeah, I think again, I'm going to quote this from probably who I watched a podcast on. That was Casey Neistat, and obviously he's probably one king in the YouTube realm. But he made a comment that I'm only repeating what he said, but I do fundamentally agree with it. Is that YouTube has gone through many phases, and I didn't really witness those, but the phase now, I think, is people want to, where it was more fancy editing and music and whoa, now I think it's more like, I just want to connect with that dude. I want to know, I want genuine stuff from that guy. And I think now we're seeing, where we see some people are blowing up on YouTube, and you watch the videos, they're the laziest edit. They don't bother with and I hate this. I'm going to have a little whinge about this. I hate people that copy blatantly other people's thumbnails designs. They watch someone do something and they go, I'm going to exactly replicate that. I'm going to look at that. I'll exactly replicate that. And I think YouTube
red curved arrow.
highlight the most sort of provocative word in my description.
Wow, but I didn't know this would happen.
But I think actually there needs to be, and I'm seeing channels that are exploding where they're just being themselves and they're not putting shit ton of effort into this editing and trying to think, well, now my thumbnail, how am I going to grab someone's attention? I think generally people are feeling like they need, no, I want to have something genuine. So I want to have something that, ticks another box. Because I think people are getting a bit sick of all this, seeing people copying everyone else and people just saying, watch me. I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you feel better, but it isn't, or something like that. But I generally feel if, like you say, do something that is perhaps not going to be as like say a how to fix car video, but something that's going to be of interest to you. And like I say, you may just stumble across something that gains a lot of traction. And it is sometimes you have to have just a bit of luck on that respect. And
you do. The one that I like at the minute that I follow and I do actually talk to, he's really amenable, is Nino over at Not Economically Viable. I don't know whether you've seen his channel.
No.
Definitely would go follow it. And anybody that's watching, go follow it. It's the nicest guy, genuinely nicest guy in the world. And he is just going on a journey of teaching himself mechanics. and he will go and buy the worst car, like the worst, like
Right.
1960s Jaguar that's sat in a field for 20 years. He'll go buy it.
Right.
And
Cool.
he won't finish it. He never finishes a project, but he'll just get it up and running. And it's just, you think, mate, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
But this is it. This is it. I
you're
think-
absolutely crazy. But he doesn't care. He doesn't care about subscribing. He doesn't care about views. He's just having a laugh as he
Yeah.
does it. And he
And I
said
bet
to
he's
me,
probably getting loads of views and subscribers because of it. Yeah.
yeah,
But
I mean,
think,
he's on 54,300 subscribers, 3.3 million views. And
Wow,
he's
yeah.
done 63 uploads. This is since 2021. And
Wow, yeah.
I was chatting to him, and he's like, look, just give people a story. Yeah? He said he watched some Matt's Off-Road 4x4 Recovery, another channel. He was watching
Right.
him, and he done a video that people don't want the detail anymore. People don't want to know how to change a caliper on a Golf GTI. They want the story. You can leave the detail out as long as you give them a start, a beginning, a mid, and an end. And then people are happy. They just want the stories now. And I find that difficult because I'm not a great storyteller.
Well, this is where the I generally think, I don't know much about podcasting. This is in my first podcast, the same as you, but I generally think it's a great. I listen to podcasts now, so I've gone YouTube, did a lot of YouTube content, and now I'm more a consumer of podcasts. It's just because I can have it in my ear, and I'll watch it if I can. But normally I'm just listening to it, and I love that fact. And it is a completely different type of genre of content, and 100%, mate, go explore it. I hope I certainly will be following along myself, but I can certainly tell your viewers, the content, as I'm the first, the content's only going to get better from now on with any other guests. But
we've filmed this in all kinds of different order. I'm going to have to chop, change, and reverse and move stuff around.
But yeah, 100%. And I think that's the other thing. There's no harm in going, right, okay, I've been filming this. I'm not quite getting what I want from it. It's not quite working. 100%. Why would you continue to do something? Because you're only going to get the same results. Probably, the same, perhaps, feelings that you're having towards making that content, whether it be negative, and it's going to just keep wearing you down. So 100% change it up, have a go at something else, because why not?
Exactly. You don't speculate to accumulate.
Who cares? Yeah, because I think it's important. I think it is important. And again, people who are thinking maybe to have a go at YouTube, 100%. It's the same, like going back to the analogy of playing the guitar. Try a bit of rock music. If you get sick of playing that, try trying a bit of classical. Try. The more you try, and there might just be you find a knack at a certain genre that you never realised you had.
Yeah. This is the thing. Go look at people's first videos. That's what I did.
They're shit. My first video was
yours
shit.
was all right. Yours, what?
Yeah.
Yours was one of the few that actually was pretty polished. I mean, go look at Matt's videos. Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Like, I'm Matt Armstrong. I'm fixing my wife's Audi TT in a car park.
Yeah.
And it was so robotic and unnatural, but now his videos just roll off the cuff.
Yeah, and I think that's something important to remember is your first videos are rubbish, Well, when you look back at them, you think, blimey, but it is. People think they're just going to switch a camera on and be like, oh, look, aren't I presenting correctly? And isn't my voice projecting correct? And isn't the audio and visuals done properly? And it's like, no, it's not, because you've got to figure all that out. And that comes with having a go. It's like you're not going to give someone a guitar and go, oh, can you play a bloody certain song? No. Go sing like Ed Sheeran? No, mate. But I'll have a go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
absolutely brilliant. But no, this has been brilliant, mate. Thank you very, very much for agreeing to me to have a chat with you. It's been really informative. So you've been Wimpy and I've been Dave. I've been dying to say that the whole podcast.
Yeah, I have been Wimpy. Yeah, I am still. I'll always be Wimpy, and Wimpy will come back to YouTube. But I can't promise you it'll have. It will be car
I'll
content.
take that as a commitment. Now it's written in blood.
Yeah, let's say if I've created a new channel, it'll be in the comments. Yeah, but yeah, I have actually been and purchased some technology to record potentially a new completely different genre of content that could be coming YouTube's way. But yeah, don't expect any fancy editing. Just a guy telling you kind of how it
Cooking
is.
with Alex.
Potentially. Yeah,
French cuisine.
I worked with Jamie Oliver for a number of years, mate. Believe it or
I
not.
was going to touch on that. I was going to
In
touch on
another
that.
life.
I've seen a photo of you having beers with Jamie Oliver.
Oh yeah. I had a party on a boat in London with Jamie Oliver. Yeah. So yeah, that's true. Beers with Jamie Oliver. Where did you find a picture of me with Jamie Oliver?
You put it online.
Oh, did I? Oh, right, there we go. Yeah, I was thinking, where did that come from? Oh,
It was the unshameful. I used to work with Jamie Oliver, you know.
Yeah. Oh, right, I did. Yeah, okay. I did. I have mentioned it then. But yeah,
I'll put
a
link to that video in the description of this one.
I can cook, mate. I can cook. That's for sure. So
I
maybe,
have to say, I was very impressed with the burger
kitchen.
and fries on the Wimpy Stang.
Oh yeah. Yeah, again, I thought that as YouTube gold, eating a burger and fries off an engine bay. No.
I bet it smelled lovely afterwards.
It actually was absolutely fine. Because it's quite obviously the V8 was quite warm, it was actually very practical because it was very clean and the heat of the V8 kept the burger and chips at a good temperature. So, yeah, who would have thought?
Excellent.
You just had to make sure you didn't drop chips and stuff, obviously, down places that you couldn't fish them back out of because it's not like they're magnetic. You could sort of. But yeah, it was. Again, I thought YouTube gold, but YouTube thought otherwise. So, yeah.
Algorithm always knows best. Well, thank you very much, buddy. So. I appreciate your time.
With pleasure, mate. No, seriously, it's been fun. And I look forward to enjoying more podcast content on the channel, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get a couple of big names like Goon Squad on here. I'll get you an interview and I'm all right.
Yeah, cool, man. Yeah.
Brilliant.
All right, take care, Dave.
And you, mate. Cheers.